Hi, I'm Brett with the Craft Beer Connoisseurs, and before this episode begins, I just wanted to provide you with a little information on who we are and how you can stay updated on all of our content. This podcast was created to showcase craft breweries and indulge in interesting conversation. We want to help promote a variety of breweries and along the way have conversations ranging from sports to beer and beer to just about anything. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untappd, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now stay tuned for today's episode. Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Brett.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Tyler. And along with us today is producer Nathan or Nate.
Nate, welcome.
Nathan, welcome.
So in today's episode, along with Nathan, we'll be taking a look at Blood Brothers Brewing out of Toronto, Ontario.
And we're going to be trying two beers. The first is the Inner Eye, which is a pale ale. Okay. And the second is out of their Bear Worship series that's labeled as a wild ale. Ooh. And it has peach and nectarine involved.
Nice. All right. And to round out the episode, we're going to be talking about the 2021 Toronto Blue Jays season. So stay tuned for that.
So we're talking about Blood Brothers, one of my favorite breweries. Okay, so I'm pretty excited to get into a couple beers today.
All right.
And it is located at 165 Geary Avenue in Toronto, and you can find it on the corner of Geary and Bartlett. And it is owned by brothers Braden and Dustin Jones.
Nice. All right.
So their brewery is actually located in the Warehouse district, where there are a lot of studios, art galleries. Those are popping up with kind of increased frequency right now.
Right.
And the actual brewery itself is kind of follows the factory style space, which features occult themed labels and artwork, which we'll see. I know Brett, you like the cans. I think we'll see that on the can.
One can, one bottle today.
Or bottles,
yeah. Or bottles, yeah.
It kind of comes through all of them. So the brewery is based around brewing interesting beers. So their friends and family would want to drink. So they kind of made it like more of like their family and what they like. Also, they kind of look at their brewery process with each kind of step along with passion and independent spirit. So again, we see this a lot with a lot of the breweries is that they take a lot of pride in what they make. Yeah. They're making it essentially for them to enjoy as well as their friends and family, but also their community, right? So they want to kind of have a different kind of spirit around the beers or the beers that they drink for or brew for their customers. Yeah.
And I think a variety of customers, right? I think when you look at the beers that they always have available, they're kind of on quite a big range in terms of beginner beers, if you will, to craft beer, to kind of those advanced.
And kind of going back to Counterpoint in terms of the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, etc., right? Absolutely. Yeah. So the head brewer is Patrick Howell, and he graduated from the University of Windsor.
Woo! Oh!
And for kinesiology, which also caters to our producer.
Yeah.
So there you go. So he's been hanging out at the brewery for the past 2.5 years.
I wonder when Patrick went to school there.
I don't know.
We'll have to
maybe we crossed paths.
Maybe. You should have got to know him when he was there. He would have brewed you some beer crafts.
That's true.
Saw that.
Missed opportunity.
We could have actually started our own brewery in university.
So they are making 4 batches of beer per week, sometimes brewing from 6 a.m. in the morning to 2 a.m. at night.
That's a long day.
It's a long day. And obviously the batches of beer could be some new batches of beer, but along with also making their core beers as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, that's good. So during the year peak time, I mean, they can have 16 different batches per week, which is a lot of beers that they're pumping out, right? Which could mean anywhere between 2 or 3 different new releases of beer per week. 142 beers currently listed on Untappd. So is that up to date?
It's 144 now because with 2 releases this week.
Yeah,
wow.
Like, you can't keep up, right?
Right? They just keep going and going and going.
Pumping it
But
out.
they also have like quite a extensive core lineup. Like I think their core lineup is probably like 5 or 6 beers deep.
Yep.
Right.
And then a lot of times, like we'll see with the Bear Worship, is they'll do that same series. Just a little bit of like different fruits or whatever.
Yeah. Right. And we'll get into some of those.
I was just gonna say, but like, has anybody actually been? I feel like I'm the only one that asked this question. Like, who the heck has been?
Here's the thing about Blood Brothers. I've had 17 different beers from them,
but have you been?
And it's going to be 2 more. I haven't been there.
I have not
true
either.
fan.
It is
I think not.
Number 1 on my list. As soon as everything opens up, the boys are going. Yeah. All of us are going.
Might be busy that day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm already busy.
Yeah.
The fun thing about Blood Brothers is their beer on Untappd has been rated 87,018 times.
Wow.
Okay. So a lot of beers again.
That's pretty high for a lot of the breweries we've reviewed.
The busy month last year, how many liters of beer did they pump out there, Brett?
500,000 liters of beer. And still, that was barely enough to keep up with the demand they have.
That's a lot of beer.
So good on them because, again, a pandemic year, right?
You got
it. It's nice to see the local support kind of going back to them.
And it might have part to do with the fact that their average rating out of the 87,000 and change beers is 3.92 out of 5.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Quality.
Quality
and quantity.
That's right.
Yes, quality and quantity. You got that right.
They're not only brewing a ton of beer and a ton of different beers, they're making great beers.
So I think part of this whole kind of process, I mean, we're podcasters, we're not brewers, right? So
that is true.
We come from a different kind of perspective on this.
Yeah.
Is that they actually map out their year in quarters, much like we kind of do as podcasters, right? So there's some similarity there. So every quarter they sit down, they map out exactly which styles, flavors they want to kind of do. And with kind of brewing is you can kind of forecast, right? You can have this kind of like, okay, we know in the fall season, we're going to have these kinds of ingredients, right? So you can map out your whole year. I do the same thing at work with work plan. Do it by quarter.
Yeah.
You can kind of project what you're doing. They do the same thing with seasonal ingredients, and you know those are going to kind of rinse and repeat every year.
Right, because if you were a farmer like Brett, you would know.
Total farmer.
In the summer, strawberries you might want to use, for example.
Right.
In the winter, you might want to use cranberries, etc.
Right.
Yes. So in terms of, COVID, and obviously COVID's affected them, and them being in, the heart of the GTA, they've been locked down for a little bit.
Yep.
So they've actually, COVID's allowed them to expand their home delivery and also their bottle shop. And they're obviously making sure that their beer is getting delivered to everybody's doorsteps in Ontario and bottle shops in Ontario as well.
Right. And so one thing that we do that, again, is very similar to them is if their beer does not meet the standards for release, they're just going to throw it off the side and scrap it. So they're not afraid of taking that loss. We do the same sort of thing. If we record something and say, you know what, this is not going to be, up to par, we say, out she goes.
Scrap it. Yeah.
She's gone, and we'll re-record if necessary.
Only
right?
the best quality podcast for our listeners.
And that's the biggest thing is providing good content for your consumers, whether it's the beer or the podcast. So that's just something of
and that leads to their high rating, right? Because even if they had so much demand where they had to produce a ton of beer and it didn't come out to the quality that they wanted, they're still not satisfied with that. They're going to want to make sure that the people that are drinking their beers are really enjoying them.
Exactly. And actually, some of their best overall rated releases have come from their second batches of beers. So in terms of scrapping that first batch, because maybe it was human error, maybe they didn't know enough about the ingredients, the hops, the purees, whatever they were brewing with, they didn't know exactly how it was going to go.
Yep.
So as soon as they, do the trial and error process, all of a sudden they taste that second batch and it's like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We're going to release this.
And you know what? Like, you learn a lot along the process, right? So we are now, this is our 15th episode in, plus producer specials.
Wow.
We are more than halfway through a season.
Yes, we are.
And that's exciting for us. But again, we kind of go back to some of our earlier episodes is they like to do collaborations as well. So, Brett, Chris, do you want to talk about some of their collaborations they do?
So in terms of my favorite collaboration, it's called the Brotherhood series. So they actually combine with other breweries in order to make, these one-off specialty beers. So for example, one of those is the Imperial Cherry Cheesecake Stout that they released with Third Moon. It was around Christmas time. I remember we had it actually watching the World Juniors.
Enjoyed that one myself.
Yes, definitely enjoyed it. Producer Nate, not a big Imperial Stout fan, so he was not a big fan of it.
I think it took a little bit longer
it was a little bit longer for him to get it down.
Might have had that over the course of a game, whereas it took me
more of a period.
More of a period.
So Brewski, which is another highly rated brewery out of Montreal, Merritt, Town, Badlands, Rogue River, Dominion City, Barncat, Short Finger, just hitting the top-notch breweries in Ontario and collaborating with them, right?
That's the thing. A lot of their collaborations are, I'd say they're a high-end brewery. A lot of their collaborations are with high-end breweries as well, in terms of quality of beer.
And one of them, Bellwoods, which is one of my favorite breweries.
I know.
Yes,
some of your favorite beers come from there.
That I'm not going to lie to you was the best double IPA I have ever had.
Nice.
The Bellwoods Blood Brothers collab called Devil Sauce. I don't know if our listeners got that out there, but damn was it good.
Yeah?
Damn was it good.
So to kind
I
of
want more of it.
mold this in a little bit more. I mean, we've talked a lot about the brewery, so we should probably wrap this segment up soon. Is the Paradise Lost series, which is their sour series. Obviously, I take a shine to that as more of a sour craft beer connoisseur. What about, let's talk about a little bit of the delivery process. So what's cost on that? And then we should probably wrap this up soon, right?
Yeah, so local delivery, they're doing for $5 or free over $50. So I think that's pretty similar to a lot of other breweries. And they're doing Ontario-wide delivery for $10. So if you're in Ontario, anywhere in Ontario, you can get a hold of their beers.
Trust me, this is one of the breweries that you want to check out. If you guys have not had Blood Brothers yet, I'm not a salesperson for them by any means of the imagination, but you need to order from them soon. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be worth the $10 shipping. So
Absolutely.
We'll definitely link their information to our social media so that you can get a hold of those beers.
And let's get to the point now, boys. Let's try one of these beers. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Big shout out to Ariane from Blood Brothers for supplying the beers on today's episode.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So our first beer today is the Inner Eye, which is a pale ale. It has 5.5 ABV and 35 IBUs.
Nice. So it is dry hopped with Citra, Simcoe, and Cascade hops. It is a full-flavored, easy-drinking pale ale, and it boasts a large bouquet of tropical fruit and citrus while keeping bitterness low to improve drinkability. The palate is soft and full finishing medium dry to accentuate its juicy qualities. This sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds delicious. So on Untapped, you can follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. The overall rating for Inner Eye is a 3.75, bottle caps at a 5, and a total of 4,162 check-ins.
Nice.
It's a few check-ins, eh?
She's a
Quite a
couple.
bit, yeah.
She's a
A
couple.
few people have had this beer.
All right.
It's soon going to be us as well.
Yeah, that's true. So let's grab our glass, grab our can, and let's open her up.
Oh.
I got a little bit of that in the face. Not going to lie to you.
I got a little bit of Brett's splash too.
I poured like a man and do not have to worry about it.
Chris, you want to talk about the proper glassware involved with this beverage, please?
Yeah, so as mentioned, this is a pale ale, so we are drinking this out of a pint glass. So make sure to use your proper glassware.
Oh, this looks lovely coming out here. Not going to lie to you.
Ooh, smells good too.
Smells good, mostly because it's closer to my nose, because it's on my face still. I should wipe that off.
Fair enough. So looking at it, it's kind of got that hazy IPA kind of look to it,
For
right?
sure, yeah. Definitely a hazy pale ale, I'd say.
It's going to be juicy, do you think?
Yeah, juicy, kind of, like an orange peachy type color.
Those are my favorite kinds.
Yeah,
Again,
very
orange,
hazy
peachy.
IPA kind of look. No head to her. Just settle down.
Yeah, that's true.
The
She
pale
settled
ale,
quickly.
Yeah, very pale ale kind of esque, right? Like the head retention on it, but yeah. Chris is dabbling in his whole beer. You got a little adjunct.
I think I spilled something a little bit in there. Yeah.
Dang it, Chris, come on.
Fair enough. All right, so
I'm hoping none of you would have seen that, but
I see y'all.
He's
Say
looking
Levy.
right at you.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to see it.
staring into your eyes.
I thought you were going to be staring at the beer instead.
No.
I'm staring at the beer. That's why I didn't see what was going on there, because I'm staring at the loveliness.
Yeah. Well, it definitely
Haziness.
smells fruity.
Smells fresh, too. Smells real fresh.
It does smell fresh.
Yeah, so when did we get these?
We got them just a couple days ago.
Yeah. All right, so then we expect a fresh beer out of this.
Yeah.
They should be, yes.
All right, so do you want to kind of dip our tongues into the old beer?
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay. Let's do this.
Okay.
Yep.
It's
I like
different
it.
because it's a pale ale, but I really am still getting that like hazy IPA kind of like look into it, right?
Yeah, and I think it said that there's minimal bitterness. Like I'm getting almost zero bitterness on this. This is really smooth.
You can definitely taste that it's dry hopped. I think it's a little dry in the back end.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that.
But definitely, it's light, it's fruity, it's what you want. Like I could crush this on a patio all day long. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a very kind of right now beer, right? The way the temperatures are.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
If it's a nice sunny day.
I can't believe it's not March. Or it is March.
It is. Yeah.
I can't believe it is March.
What's funny
I know.
because it's April now.
Oh, when this releases, yes, it
Yeah.
will be. That's true.
Dun, dun. April Fools.
Yeah.
There it is. But right now, as we record it is March, and the weather is nice. But as we move into April, I mean, the weather still looks good. So
It's going to get better.
we're going to be having
get better.
couple of these puppies for sure.
And I think, Brett, you mentioned you've had quite a few Blood Brothers beers. I think this is almost, and, we do talk about it quite a bit, but I think this is almost, tame in terms of how Blood Brothers will, kind of brew their beers. It's very basic, if you will, in terms of like an introductory beer.
And again, it's one of their cores that they have, right? So you can mostly find this in their bottle shop, or eventually when they open back up, COVID protocols and all that stuff, on tap, right?
Yeah.
And I know, Chris, this is actually your first Blood Brothers beer you've had, correct?
It is. It is my first.
Welcome to the club. Much
you.
appreciated.
I think we should. Do we cut our fingers and then we just?
Well, on the logo, they have the cut on their hands, on their palms,
should
right?
we do that?
So, yeah, maybe we should do that.
And we make a pact?
Yeah. Is that COVID appropriate?
One for all for one. Absolutely
can
not.
Can you
it's
get
not.
COVID through blood?
I mean,
That's a real interesting question.
I was going to make a comment about being a doctor, but I better not, just so I don't upset some people.
I played a doctor once, just because it was Halloween, but...
All right, top
That's all.
5 flavor profiles. 5, hit us with it. Come on now.
So the first one is hoppy, light, fruity, sweet, and then the fifth one is dry. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, I agree with, I'd say probably all of those.
Do you feel the hoppiness on number 1?
I do, personally. I know it's there.
Yeah.
It's a drier
I get it, but
hoppiness.
I always think that like light and fruity almost kind of supersede hoppy. Like I don't feel like it's a very hoppy kind of forward beer.
It's not hoppy like you would expect from an IPA or something like that.
Right, and that's the thing is because it's not an IPA, and that's where I'm thinking is like users of this beer, consumers, if you will,
Yeah.
are putting hoppy because they believe it to be a more IPA kind of forward beer because of its what it looks like. When in
Right.
reality, it's not. It's a pale ale, and so I'm thinking it's more of a light, fruity, sweet, hoppy, dry.
I am surprised that citrus isn't one of those top 5, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
true
good
too.
point.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's as I'm getting further and further into this, a lot more citrus is coming right at the tongue. As soon as it hits the tongue, it's overloaded with citrus.
Yep.
But then at the back end, then it dries off, and then it's got that little bitterness at the back end.
Yeah, I agree. So that's a good comment. Let's see what else people are saying on Untapped about this one.
Yeah.
So yes, the first one is from Matt K, and his username is Cryptor. On February 17th said, nice pale ale, citrusy and refreshing. Less so in the middle of winter than in the middle of a sweaty summer, I'd wager. Love the Mystic labels. He gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Right.
And Spark Note, he's had 4,927 check-ins
Wow.
with 3,762 unique beers. You are a connoisseur of the beer, my friend. Cheers to you.
Yeah, Crypto
Absolutely.
put in a little work there. So I've got the next one, but before we get there, is producer Anahate,
Nathan?
yes, has also said that this beer does drink smooth, and I agree with that. So
I
that might
totally
be
agree, yeah.
the one that replaces out with the dryness.
He's a good man.
Yeah,
Smooth.
So GTL user handle is GT Lock. Hit me with it.
Oh, it's not Jim Tan Laundry?
There it is. Jim Tat Laundry.
It's actually Jim Tan Lawrence now, if you watch Jersey Shore.
Oh, true.
No. We're talking about OG. Okay.
Yeah.
OG Jersey
Okay.
Shore.
All right.
We're going 10 years back.
Yeah. All right. So commented on December 18th. Damn. A fit reaction to my first beer from Blood Brothers, a pale ale that drinks like an IPA. Their reputation precedes them, and it doesn't disappoint. Now, GTL, Jim Tan Laundry, hits us with a 4.5 out of 5.
I'm just disappointed because Chris, obviously, as we mentioned, this is his first Blood Brothers beer too, that he didn't have the same reaction.
I did not.
Reserved it.
Reserved
Yeah.
a little
see
more
when we
back
get-
up, right?
We'll
Not,
see-
not as excited about this as GTL.
We'll
but
see when we get to the ratings. Okay, see when we get to the ratings then.
I almost spilled the rest of it.
Oh my
but
goodness.
I'm good now.
Don't spill it. Don't spill it. Anywho, in terms of my ratings, as Tyler said, I'm going to get it started. I'm going to give this a 4.25 out of 5. Again, nice citrus on the front end. A little bit dry on the back end. Would I like it to be a little bit more hoppier? Yes. But
Yeah.
For the most part, I have no complaints about this one.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.0. I have absolutely nothing to complain about with this beer, but at the same time, I don't think that it has, the major flavors or the major hoppiness to kind of get it above that level. So I'm going at a 4 exactly.
Yeah, and so I'm a 4 as well, and I agree but disagree with the way that you kind of came to your 4, Chris. But again, I mean, that's how it is sometimes. Is I don't think it needs to have that hoppiness because it is the pale ale.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you on that. Just like the rating of it and everything else, I disagree with you. The producer,
as usual.
Sounds all right.
The producer, Nate, is also going to give it a 4.0. So that's 3 for 4.0s from us.
But of course, me being the person I am, I bumped it up with my 4.25. So that brings us a total of 4.06. But obviously, I'm going to assume that since we have 3 4.0s, we should probably round down to a 4.0 overall. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right. So check us out on beer number 2, which is coming up next.
All right, we're back. So the second beer we're going to be reviewing is part of their Bear Worship series.
Nice.
So this is their newest release in the series, and it is a peach nectarine. Its ABV is 8%, and it's unlisted on the IBU.
So interesting to note that they've done a peach bear worship, they've done a nectarine bear worship, but not peach and nectarine together.
Interesting.
There you go.
Well, combination.
Yes, so this beer was designed to accentuate Blood Brothers' favorite wild yeast, fruit, and bacteria. So this product was aged in stainless for 6 months to accomplish this. 4 of these months were spent conditioning on 35 grams per liter of local nectarines and peaches.
They put some work
That's a
in
lot.
on this.
Yeah. So hopefully that flavor comes through.
Yes, sir.
So then they packaged and bottle conditioned the beers until they were just right, and the finished product is highly effervescent.
Oh, I'm glad you got that word.
Yeah, with stone fruit taking the center stage, not surprising with peach and nectarine, and a touch of ripe funk and bright acidity make way for a dry, refreshing finish.
Did you guys see producer Nate just mark out when he heard stone fruit?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's excited.
Right? Oh my goodness.
Happy for it.
So this beer, obviously, is an Untapped, and it has a overall rating of 4.01. Bottle caps out of 5 and 70 check-ins.
Nice.
So looking forward to this one. Let me tell you.
All right. Well, let's grab our bottle openers because this is a bottle, and
It
we're
is
going to
a
have
bottle, yeah.
Brett go through that momentarily. So let's open her up. It's gonna be,
There it is.
It's going to be a struggle here.
There
for
it
me.
is.
There it is.
Alrighty. Now I'm going to pour this.
All right, so we are drinking this out of a tulip or a chalice today. So basically, this is a wild ale or a sour ale. So make sure you're drinking out of the proper glassware.
So-
Just what's that?
That was a good sound. I'll give you
That
that.
carbonation
Wow,
just
definitely carbonated.
come off of her, eh?
Well, it's been sitting for like 6 months, right?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
It's
nice.
been
That was a
barrel
nice
aged.
sound.
So the two things I'm going to say at the hop, see what I did there, beer reference. Look at me go.
Very nice.
First thing is a lot darker than what I expected it to be. It looks a little bit darker.
It is, but I'm seeing Tyler's glass, and the light is hitting it just right from my angle, and it actually looks a little bit lighter when the light hits it. So
Right. And I think
Because he paid for electricity on his side and we didn't. I'm kidding.
perks of the place, I suppose.
In terms of the aroma, definitely, it's labeled as a wild ale. I'm thinking, this is almost like a barrel-aged sour. I know it's not barrel-aged, but it was in stainless, but still kind of has that aroma coming off of it.
I think that's good because it does have kind of like that perfume kind of like on the nose kind of smell to it, right? Whether that's barrel aged or
strong.
stainless piece.
Yeah, it's strong.
It is.
it is a strong
I'm
scent,
excited to taste it just because of that, again, that peach nectarine kind of flavor profile. So I'm really, really hoping that kind of comes through on this one.
And it'll be interesting to see how sour this is, because I'm expecting something sour, but to what degree, we'll see.
Now, are we thinking, because I know there's a difference between using like a peach puree or a peach, artificial peach flavoring. This is like real peach, right?
It is,
So
yeah.
sometimes, pardon me, when you make an IPA and you have, the hops kind of give off that peach flavor.
Yeah.
This one, we're actually taking actual peaches to be involved with this, right? So I'm really interested how it's going to come out.
And that's a good point. I really hope it's so difficult with the peach flavor in general because you could get that artificial kind of peach, whether it's like that fuzzy peach kind of flavor aspect to it, or if it is like more of a authentic peach, right? So this is going to be interesting, right? With the wild ale perspective too. So is this something new to the pod?
Yeah, I don't think. Well, I know we haven't had a wild ale. I think we've only had a couple sours as well. I think
it's been disappointing
in the first couple
for
episodes.
You.
Only,
For you, it's been disappointing.
But again, this
in all fairness, seasonality, right?
I was just gonna say, and as we move through the season, hopefully we see more sours come because
I think there will be some coming up.
Right, sure, as we round out season 1 of the podcast, we're hoping. We're moving into that summer season where you're going to see more of those sours.
Yeah,
come through,
definitely going to see more of sours, gosas, things like that in the summer.
And the one thing I will say is that in terms of this beer per se, right?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever personally had what's been labeled as a wild ale. It's a very different terminology you don't really hear too much about.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's just me. Like.
True. I'd have to look back into my Untapped, but and I think the wild ale part comes from like the yeast that they use. You mentioned the yeast, so we'll see what this kind of tastes like. Maybe we should get into it.
Yeah. How about we start consuming some? Brett, you take a look at the bottle and give us a little bit of recap on what's on the bottle.
You're making me drink it last? What is this?
This is called Fairness to Chris and I.
Okay.
So in fairness to Chris and I, cheers, Chris.
Cheers.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, and producer Nate. Cheers.
I was going to cheers you when I was able to drink this, but besides the point.
Split it 50-50, but that's all right.
So this is obviously, as we mentioned, in a 500 milliliter bottle. The label on this has a peach color to it. Who could have thought, right? And there's 2 bears. Ironically, they're not worshiping each other because they're not looking directly at each other.
Right. Good point.
And I don't understand the Google Drive logo in here. But so I don't know how this beer's gonna upload, but we'll get there.
That's the funniest thing you've ever said in your life. Good job.
It's there. It's right in front of me.
Air high five.
You're right. Socially distanced high five.
Great job.
So I should probably drink this now, shouldn't I?
You take a sip.
Yeah, get into it.
Right off the taste, it is comparable. Again, to that kind of barrel aged kind of flavor.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just let it sit a little bit. And I'm getting that peach nectarine come through at the end.
Big time.
And it's balanced. Like I'm scared for this. Like I want to drink through it. But
Could there
good.
be a prediction in the future? Who
I
knows?
don't know. It's good. It's good.
All right.
And it tastes almost like has a little bit of like the kettle sour feel to it when I drink it.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that I will mention is very acidic.
Yes.
Very, very acidic. You're hitting that right off the hop, if you will. I have to use it the second time. For God's sakes, what is going on with me today?
One trick pony.
It's my shtick, I guess.
But again, we've had 8% beers that you can taste at 8%. With this is, yes, it is 8%, but it's not overpowering on the alcohol. I think flavor to it, right? It does come through. Again, you have to understand when you're drinking is that peach and artificial peach flavor, right? Differentiate between the two.
Yep.
Separate it. And this is very stone fruit heavy, but again, it's a very consumable kind of beer, right?
Yeah, and again, I think, we're enjoying some really, really nice weather.
Unseasonal weather almost.
Yeah, very, very warm, very sunny for this type of year. And this is absolutely perfect for sitting out on the patio, on the balcony, whatever, drinking this beer. For this type of weather that we're having.
And
this
I know,
is awesome.
Chris, this isn't like you, but I know you suggested to producer Nate about having another sour that Blood Brothers produced, the Razzle Dazzle, which he was like above and beyond in terms of that. He rated that a 5 on his personal Untapped, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how producer Nate compares this sour wild ale compared to the Razzle Dazzle as well.
Right. So why don't we get into the top 5 flavor profiles? For you guys, will. You guys good?
Yeah.
I can go ahead.
Okay, do it.
All right. So number 1, peachy. Number 2, tart. 3, acidic. 4, sour. And 5, perfumey. I almost want to say that this top 5 is the top 5 in order.
I'm confused by the perfumey. Like, how is that a flavor profile?
So
I could get a scent of perfume, sure. But how has anybody ever tasted perfume before? Like, I don't know how we go through that.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying for sure. I think, maybe we might, because there are 2 fruits involved in this beer, right? It's peach and nectarine. So maybe nectarine as number 5.
Yeah. I still feel like the perfumey, as like, I understand what Brett's saying, but like you can taste that kind of perfumey kind of smell and then cross-reference that over into like a taste, like a flavor. So like, something smells like something, but like you tasting like that taste smells like that. Right. That's what I get in this kind of aspect.
Like, I'm thinking like somebody going down to like Walmart and spraying perfume in their mouth and like, this tastes like perfumey. This is perfumey. Like, I don't think people do that. That's just me though. What do I know?
Yeah, it's just you.
I will say though, I mentioned before we had it, kind of wondering how sour this would be. I'd say it's pretty sour.
Do you think so?
On my end, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's that kettle sour kind of aspect of it, right? So
the kettle sour kind of hits me in like in the jaw almost.
Speaking of hitting you in the jaw, sometimes when you're laying down in your room and all of a sudden your phone hits you in the jaw while you're checking your Untappd, we need to talk about some Untappd comments. And I know, Chris, you have the first one here.
Yeah, sure. So from Curtis C, handle is Curtis Chaff on February 26th, said, nice peach on the nose. I think the acidity takes away from the peach flavor, but overall pretty nice. And Curtis gave it a 3.75 out of 5.
I do think I perfectly agree with Chris here. Is that I think
Chris or Curtis?
Yeah, which one do you agree with?
I'm gonna go with Curtis.
Okay.
Yeah, Curtis. Sorry. I think the acidity is taking away from the actual overall flavor of the beer. That's just like I think that's where I'm at.
That's fair.
Maybe if it was they upped the peaches a little bit, or there's a little more official peach, maybe that rating would go up for me. But I agree with Curtis.
See, I think that you're confused. And the reason why I say is I think that you're getting confused between the acidity and the sourness.
See, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I understand it being tart. I get that part. But it's almost way too acidic, more acidic than a regular sour.
All right. Here we go. So I've got the second one. So Toshio S, which the handle is Shimoda, 9, also on February 26th, said the following. Pretty fruit forward with a little, not little.
Yeah,
a little tart finish. Again, effervescent, similar to a champagne. Worship that bear emoji, or it will find you. Okay.
Interesting.
So Toshio gave it a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5.
Are you
Toshio.
enjoying this beer so much you can't get the rating out for Toshio?
No, I got it 4 out of 5.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, I'll start ours off. I think I'm gonna go at a 4.0. Second one I've done this episode at 4.0.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit too sour for me, and maybe a little bit more peach and nectarine flavor would put it a little bit higher.
I don't mean to carbon copy it here, Chris, but I'm going to carbon copy you. So definitely like a 4 for me. I agree. Like, just wish there's a little bit more peach coming through there.
Yeah. All right. So I might be on the higher end. I feel like this is coming through pretty nicely. I do agree with some of the comments that have been made, except for everything Brett said.
I said the same comment that Chris did.
Yeah, carbon copy. So for me, it's going to be a 4.5.
Nice.
Oh, I was hoping for that 5.
Not yet.
I was hoping
not
you
yet.
make it there.
No, I don't give them out like you do. So
I've given 1. on the podcast. I've done one on the podcast.
B_Fiverr14. You take a look at the statistics.
Personally, maybe a bit more, yeah.
So for me, it's going to be a 4.5. I do agree that if I had a little bit more of that peach, but I don't want to get lost in that fake peach kind of like overpowering flavor. And for the producer, Nate, Nate's going to give it a 3.75. Some of the comments coming forward from Nate or Nathan is that, again, wishes it was more peach, hard fruit flavor to come through, getting a lot of the tartness. So if there's more of maybe a balance between that tartness and that flavor, I think maybe Chris and Nate would have had their score a little bit higher.
It's true. It definitely makes sense, you know?
Yep.
So that gives us a team overall score of 4.0625. I feel as though we're all in agreement. We're going to round that down to a 4 again.
Yeah, I think that's the exact score we had for Inner Eye, too.
That's insane.
Math.
It is pretty crazy.
Math is
Blood
crazy.
Brothers. So that's going to be all for Blood Brothers and the reviews of their beers for this episode.
Yeah, so stay tuned because we're going to talk about the Blue Jays' upcoming 2021 season.
So, since this episode gets released, the MLB opening day, and the Jays are opening up April 1st.
Nice.
It only makes sense that we discuss, the team that makes their home in Toronto, or I guess right now
Did
Dunedin.
they make their home in Toronto?
I guess right now Dunedin. And then maybe Buffalo, and then maybe Toronto. Who knows, right?
Knows?
Yeah.
Suitcase
We'll just
team.
call them the Blue Jays. How's that sound?
Sounds about right.
So what are your thoughts? Obviously, I know we all like baseball.
Blue Jays good.
Okay, Blue Jay.
And that's it, right?
Yeah. What do you
So
want? What do you
obviously,
want?
they spent some money this year, right?
They did.
George
yeah.
Springer, Marcus Semien, Kirby Yates. They traded for Steve Matz. They re-upped Robbie Ray.
Mm-hmm.
What are we thinking about this team this year? How are they lining
I'm
up
glad
so
that
far?
you asked, Brett Pfeiffer. So
Please give it to me, Tyler Sager.
I'll give it to you. So the Springer deal, I think, is good. I think they needed something else there. They needed
Yes.
a kind of a superstar to kind of come in.
You mean Randall Grichuk didn't cut it?
And
Did
someone
not
who
cut-
could actually play defense in center field.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing. Obviously, Springer comes with a little bit of a tainted history, right, with the whole trash can scandal.
True.
So take that with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, it's not my money. The guy did a trash can scandal. It could have been much worse, right? There's worse things.
He
you could
wasn't
do
one of
out
the
there.
bigger guys involved with that, though.
Yeah.
He's not Jose Altuve.
No, I know.
Don't hit me. Don't hit my buzzer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got the championship pedigree, right? He's
Yeah, he's been
won
there
a
before.
championship. He's been to another World Series.
Yep.
So
I also like the Simeon, the 1 year. Like, get him
Yes.
in, bring him in, see what he can kind of do. And I think some of these are kind of like tasters, if you will. Right, like kind of going back to the flights, is these are kind of like taster deals with the Simeon. Is move over to second, we'll try you out, see how you kind of fit in there. If the team does well, you only know that this team, the core, the essential players, are going to be there year over year.
yeah,
That it might be a situation that you re-up them for a 2 year, 3 year at that point, right? So this is kind of a taster deal.
well, and that's a great point because in order for the Blue Jays to do better than last year, it takes more than just bringing new guys in. It takes additional contribution from the guys
Right.
that have been there, especially the younger guys, right?
Yep, the
So you
core.
want that development, especially from a guy like Vlad, right? Because he's been, I don't want to say disappointing, but he hasn't, there's been really, really high expectations on him, and he hasn't been able to live up
You
to
know
those
what?
high
I
expectations.
completely disagree.
Okay.
And the reason I saw a stat the other day, I saw actually like a infogram kind of between him and his dad at the same age with the same number of games. And Guerrero Jr. has outperformed him in like 3 or 4 of the categories. So again, he's young, but you're looking at like RBIs. He was like 25 RBIs ahead of Vlad Guerrero
Right.
at
but,
the same time.
But when you compare him to someone in his, contemporary group, like a Tatis Jr.,
Yep.
it's a little bit disappointing, right?
For sure. But we're going to get there a little bit later on in the conversation.
Yes. So in terms of, my thoughts on the Jays, I'm huge on the Kirby Yates deal. I think San Diego sold him real short.
Yep.
Just because, he had some injury issues last year. I think he is going to make that bullpen. You're going to have Dolis,
Yeah.
you're going to have Romano.
Yeah, it's a solid,
He's
a
gonna
good
back
bullpen.
end.
He's
Yeah.
going to make that back end. And actually, fun facts. I don't know if you watch MLB Network at all, but yesterday they came out with a big prediction that not only the Jays were going to win the AL East, but the Jays at the deadline were going to pick up Josh Hader from the Brewers.
Okay. All right.
Because apparently the Brewers aren't going to be good this year. Who knows? But
Yeah.
in terms of that, I think the Semyon is more like a one and done. I think he's just a stopgap.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally, I'm really excited though about Robbie Ray. He's looked very good in spring, and producer Nate has agreed with me.
Tons of strikeouts.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
he's going to go in there. He's going to walk some guys. For sure.
He's going to walk a lot
He's
of guys.
going to be a guy who's going to throw 5 innings. He's maybe going to walk 3 or 4, but he's probably going to strike out 9 or 10. Right?
Yep.
He's got electric stuff. Yeah. Last year, I saw him as a person who could have stepped into that closer role later in the year with all the injuries that were happening.
See, I wouldn't see that with a closer
this year.
role as a...
His grunting will probably scare some hitters.
There's going to be more fans in the stand, so it might not.
And his velocity is up too, right?
Yeah,
and I think that comes from Pete Walker, who wasn't really a great pitcher when he played in the majors, but has a better track record of helping with the type of pitchers that are wild, who are getting there, right? Same with Steve Matz, right? Like Matz has looked very good in the spring too.
I think Matz has thrown 10 innings, given up 1 run, and has 12 strikeouts.
Yeah.
So it's looking at that in a different kind of perspective, and I think I agree with Ray. I don't think he'd be coming out of the bullpen though, because the amount of like.
Well, that was last year when he was
last year. I don't think he would have came out of the bullpen because he was so erratic last year.
Yeah.
I think he's found his space now. Something to be said. Does Robbie Ray look better because of Kirk? And so the way that every game that he's pitched, Kirk has been catching, and so they're saying maybe there's an opportunity for Kirk to go ahead and be a personal catcher for Robbie Ray, right? Which ties into producer Nate saying that maybe Kirk is going to be his breakout player of the year. What do we think? What do you guys got? Who do you got for a breakout player?
Me?
Not everybody else.
I'm going to say 2 things. First, Kirk is going to overtake Jansen as number 1 this year.
Okay.
No offense to Danny Jansen. He's just not good.
He's a better defensive catcher than Kirk,
way better in game 2
I don't think he's going to take
Tampa.
Him over.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to take over.
It's going to be more of a split. I think it's going to be Jansen 100, Kirk 60 to 65.
Yeah.
In terms of the breakup player, I think Grady Tellez, honestly, is going to go off this year.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he's going to be the DH. He's not going to play much first base because that's how he got injured last year. But I think Tellez is going to be 270, 35, and over 100. He's going to be better than Smoke was a couple years ago.
I think, last year I would say the breakout player was probably Teoscar Hernandez. He had an amazing year.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this year we're going to look at Vlad as the breakout player. I think this year we're actually going to see the Vlad that we're expecting.
Right. So, again, producer Nate says that he's never really been a fan of Tellez. Okay. I think he's taking a spot from Vlad, Hernandez, anybody like Gurriel Jr., whoever's going to kind of mold into that DH first base kind of role, the extra kind of at-bats. Again, disagree completely. Tellez has been a solid performer when he has the opportunity to perform. He just hasn't had it. But I agree. I completely agree with you, Chris. Vladdy is going to be your breakout player of the year this year.
He's hitting over 500 this
600.
spring. Yeah.
600. He's batting over 600 in spring training this year. I know it's spring training. However, they've retooled his swing. They've looked at kind of the trajectory of the ball coming in and said, you know what, you got to get more balls in the air. This is how you do it. The guy, he's young. And we look at it and say, oh, well, he hasn't really performed the last 2 years, year and a half.
He's still 21 or something.
He just turned 21.
Yeah.
Relax. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm looking at.
The one thing I'm going to say is it's going to be a lot. I don't know if you guys remember too much about the 2009 Jays, besides the awful black uniforms. But...
Was that Ricky Romero year?
Yeah,
Vernon Wells
Vernon
on
Wells.
his way out.
It was Roy Halladay's last year, actually.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Rowdy Tellez is going to compare to Adam Lind that year.
Okay.
Adam Lind had a Silver Slugger that year.
Yep.
And Vladdy is going to compare to Aaron Hill, who also won a Silver Slugger that year.
All right. We'll see how it kind of shakes out. So before we kind of get to the end of this, is what's the strengths and weaknesses of the team? Let's just name one strength, one weakness. Chris, let's start with you, and we'll kind of do a round table.
I think strengths definitely is the lineup in general, like the ability to get on base. I think the weakness is probably still starting pitching. Obviously, we haven't even mentioned Ryu. He's ace caliber, like Cy Young caliber. But after that, it's a little bit not too great on depth.
One thing about strength, I think if a Kirk gets in the lineup more regularly, solid 1 through 9, they're going to strike out a lot. Let's be serious. They're going to strike out a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they're also going to hit for an average. They're going to have an on-base percentage. They're going to hit a lot of home runs.
Yep.
In terms of weaknesses, I think the one thing is if the Jays are in a potential, wild card AL East kind of thing by the trade deadline, they need another right-handed pitcher. That rotation, 2 left-handed strong, Ryu, Mats, Ray. You think you need a dominant left-handed or right-handed pitcher? Sorry, not left-handed, right-handed pitcher. So if Pearson can come up, if maybe Manoah shines in AAA and comes up, who knows, right? Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. So producer Nate says, you know what, the strength is probably the lineup, the bullpen strength, and then starting pitching and defense lack a little bit.
Yep.
I'm fairly similar to that as well. I think that their biggest strength, obviously, is like the diversity of their team. So they do have some guys that can run a little bit. That's always been a weakness of the Toronto Blue Jays, is that they don't go out, steal bases. They don't put pressure on the defense. So I think that's getting a little bit better. We're not totally there, and I think they can do a little bit better with the bench, is increasing some of that speed off the bench. And we've seen this before where you go and get a Billy Hamilton at the trade deadline just to run off the bench, right?
Right.
That comes to Montoya, though, doesn't it?
It does. So I think one of the things is just Montoya, again, managing the game and seeing the different perspectives. And so I agree with that as well as producer Nate. Let's do our roundtable predictions. Where do we guys sit at? We've got producer Nate is going to kick it off here. So he believes that they finish in the AL East at 85-77, which is third in the AL East, behind the Yankees and Rays, which is kind of interesting because at 85-77, that is a very tight AL East to be third.
Yeah.
But we'll leave that there.
I mean, the last few years, the AL East has been pretty good. I'm going to say they're going to finish second. I'll say they'll win at least 90 games. I don't think anyone's catching the Yankees.
Fair enough.
They're going to finish second. They're going to win the wild card spot. 89-73. The Rays are going to be nowhere near 500 this year.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to kind of wrap that up is I'm very close to you, Brett. Very close. I'm one win.
88-74, aren't you?
I'm 88-74, second in the East as well.
Do they win the wild card spot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they do.
I think they win the wild card. I think they win the first round. I think they lose to the Twins in the ALCS.
There we have it. So that's going to complete that conversation, and we'll see you for our sign-off and our goodbyes. All right, and that's all for today's episode. After a heated discussion between the last theme conversation and the farewell, so that's it for all that we have here.
Yeah, so thank you for listening. Keep on listening. Every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for a producer special.
Make sure to tell your friends, family, and Danny Jensen, because he is not starting Game 1 of the playoffs.
We'll see about that. So from all of us and producer Nate, I'm Chris.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Tyler. And together with Danny Jansen, we are the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.